Though the whole time I'm making it, I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be ugly. Hello and welcome to my channel, Haylee Marie Vintage. Today I have some swimsuit sewing projects for you guys. So last year I made my first swimsuit. I made it vintage style out of cotton and everything, and it turned out really successful. And then I made the exact same swimsuit again in swimsuit material, and those two swimsuits are hands down my favorite and the only ones I wear. So this year I want to make a few different options because I do paddleboard in the summer and I want some vintage cute styled things, I guess, to wear for that. So first, actually, we will go ahead and dive into fabrics. I have two fabrics here that work well together, so my thought is to make a top and a bottom from each, and then they'll mix and match together to basically make a combo of, I guess, 8 different swimsuits? I don't know. I can't do math. But this is just kind of a nice accent color to this one. And then this one here I just think is absolutely stunning. As you guys can kind of tell, I'm just a little bit into these colors right now. So this is the fabric I'm going to be using. Both of these are from Style Maker, and I will link these fabrics down below in case you're interested. I'm not sure if she'll still have them in stock. Let's talk patterns. This is going to be an interesting learning curve. So for the pattern, the leaf pattern one, I'm going to use this top, which is actually not a swimsuit top, it's a bandeau top for kind of like a little romper play suit set. But I think it would make a really cute swimsuit if I just bring the long line up a little bit to under the bust. For the bottoms, I am using this Friday Pattern Co. pattern, and I'm using this swimsuit bottom. I liked the coverage that these had. It is modern and it asks me to do a lot of things that I haven't done before because I am working with a knit, which is not my comfort zone at all. This one, like, I feel pretty comfortable with because I made a knit work for a pattern like this. This is a print reproduction, so I'll link this one down below, and I'll also link this one down below. It goes up through a size 4X. So if you end up liking these swim bottoms, they're a great option. So those are my plan for that. And then this is a swimsuit that I'm gonna find a better photo of this person right here for you. Her head's a little ripped off on this one, but it has these really cute like drawstring side shorts that are kind of ruched up, and then it just has kind of a cute little swimsuit top. This one uses buttons in the back, which will be fun. I like buttons on a swimsuit. I actually think they're more secure than most modern day like clipping in mechanisms, so I'm happy to use a button on this. But that is the game plan. It is almost noon, so my plan is to real quick cut the leaf fabric and get started on that one today, and then hopefully knock out the teal one tomorrow. But we're gonna just kind of see where we end up. So yeah, that's the plan. I'm excited for you to be along for the ride, and I'm excited to hopefully learn a lot during this project. So let's jump into the cutting. First, I am starting out by cutting out all of the paper patterns. This would be the Friday pattern and the Lady Marlow pattern. Both of these just needed to be cut out from the get-go, so I went ahead and did that with my paper scissors. And then I laid it out on that leaf fabric, all of the pieces that needed to be cut there. I am making everything reversible, so there will be some pieces that I will then go ahead and cut out of the blue fabric. So that way it is the lining and we can use it as a reversible. And now we are starting with the top. What you're seeing me do here is I'm real quick modifying the pattern. The pattern is not designed to be fully lined. So there's a part where the pattern piece folds over itself. So I'm just cutting that part out and making instead where you'll just sew lines to make it fully reversible. And then I am starting the assembly of the top. I'm gonna assemble both the lining and the outside together at the same time. So I'm putting side front with side back, and I'm sewing it down the front, and then I am connecting those pieces at the armpit like they're meant to be. And now I'm just sewing the seams. I always forget when you work with swimsuits that there is not really pressing because you can't really press the swimsuit fabric. It makes it so you can kind of sit at the machine and re-pin things together to get them all working, and pin things together without getting up to have to press seams. And here I'm just doing a gut check to make sure I think this pattern will fit. No official try on, but it is looking good thus far. And now that I have the outside and the lining put together, I am now going to sew these together. So I am leaving the bottom of this completely open, so that will be where I turn things, and eventually that will be enclosed in a waistband. But otherwise I am just pinning around all the different spots. There's nothing really particularly notable here about how I'm pinning. I'm just getting everything laid out and ready for me to sew. So this is me just stitching it around. I am moving it around all of those corners. Unfortunately, because of the way this swimsuit is designed, there's not really a way to understitch, and I do feel like this does affect how it lays flat. And then here I am working on turning everything inside out. This is pretty easy. It's really easy to turn swimsuit fabric because it stretches and it's kind of slippery. So there weren't any issues here. The hardest things to turn were the ties and the straps, but this is shaping up really, really quickly now. And because I couldn't understitch, I am actually now going around and top stitching close to all of the edges on this to make it lay a little bit better. I tried it on without doing this and it just looked really horrible. So here I am just stitching around. I know that the swimsuit bottoms is gonna have the leaf accents on the solid side. So on this one, I'm just making sure I'm top stitching where the leaf kind of folds a little bit over onto the teal side, but then the teal side doesn't show on the leaf side. And this worked pretty well, but was definitely a little bit of an improvisation. And it of course affects stretch because it's a straight stitch. And here you can see I am just sewing down the straps. This is how the instructions tells me to do it. If it wasn't sewn and put together the way it was, I would do this really, really differently than how it's recommended. I usually prefer to get these in between the lining and the outside, so that way you can't see this line of stitching. That was just not in the cards for this one, but when I make this pattern again, I will for sure be doing that. And then here I am basting in elastic to the waistband. I don't know if this was the right choice. I'm not sure if I love what it did, but I was just trying to get this in there so that way the top would be more secure around my rib cage. Here I am just doing that with a zigzag stitch. It is important to zigzag stitch your elastic because otherwise it will not stretch and all the seams will just break. And instead of binding this with a separate piece of fabric, I am then folding the hem up around it, and then I am again zigzag stitching that down. I think if I did this again, I don't think the elastic was necessary here, and I would have rather done the more neat finish of a bias tape. That is what sewing is all about. You learn your first go round, and that is totally okay. And now with the top done, I can now move on to the bottoms. The bottoms were really straightforward. So first I am starting by just sewing the sides to each other and then the bottoms to each other of both the lining and the outside fabric. And then once I got that done, I am now pinning them together. I am pinning them wrong sides together because the top will be enclosed by a waistband. And then I watched the Friday tutorial for swimsuit elastic, which I will link down below. It was really, really helpful, and I don't think I could have done this project without it. Basically, what you're doing in this case is you'll stitch the elastic on to close those leg holes. Basically, I don't need to do any weird stitching and turning and stuff like that because elastic will give the bottoms extra security. I learned so much while doing this, and I highly recommend, even if you primarily make vintage swimsuits, working with one modern pattern for swimsuits just because they're made really, really differently, because they're made obviously with a material that didn't super exist back then for home sewers. Here I am attaching the waistband. The way this is working is it's basically like a big bias tape. I'm sewing down the one side and then I'll fold it over and stitch it and top stitch it on the other side. The top stitching will again be zigzag, and all the stitching is zigzag because it needs to stretch, otherwise it will break, which I can tell because all my basting stitches broke when I went to try this on. So interesting how you can quickly test that out. And then now I am working on the leg holes. So the way they recommended you do this is that you cut your elastic to be 90% smaller than the opening, and then you are pulling the elastic straight while sewing it. You are not stretching the fabric here. You are only stretching the elastic, and you are just basically basting it in this step with a zigzag seam. And I did a poor job here, but to get rid of some bulk, I was just trying to trim out the lining, which I didn't need in there to have the seam be clean. However, I definitely snipped through to the front fabric a few times. So this is nowhere near perfect, but I'll be turning it twice, so it's okay that it's not perfect, which you can see me kind of trying to do here, and you can see the bits that I accidentally cut holes in popping out. Whoops. Like I said, you learn a lot from your first swimsuit like this. And here you can see I'm starting to pin that double turnover fold. In the future, I might just baste and be okay with using more thread. I was just more conservative on thread because I was running out and really trying to make it through this bottom without having to run to Joann's. Good morning. So last night I ran out of thread on some of the final stitches of the bottoms of my swimsuit. I finished the top. The top I feel iffy about. I can't get things to tie quite right. So I think since I have enough fabric left over, I'll eventually later this summer make another top in this fabric. I do like this top enough that I will definitely wear it. It's super secure and nice and high coverage for activities like paddle boarding. Joann's didn't open until 10 a.m. this morning, so I had to wait for that. So I woke up, did some basic cleaning, and then I went to Joann's, which is right next to the farmer's market, so I got some peonies and pastries. So now today my plan is to finish those last stitches on my swimsuit bottoms and then dive into cutting out the fabric for the second swimsuit that I'm going to make for this video. I am totally tracking to have both of these made in time for this video, so you should get to see both and kind of all the different ways I can mix and match them. So I'm really excited about that. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into sewing. Here I am cutting the shorts that are going to be teal as well as the swimsuit top. The shorts obviously take up way more fabric than the swimsuit top, but this was pretty easy to cut. There's not really anything remarkable about it, and this one, both sides are the same, so marking this fabric though wasn't particularly fun because the pen I would have preferred to use for this is also teal, so it was not very helpful of transferring marks, so I had to use chalk instead, which I really don't prefer. And then here I am cutting the pieces that are going to have a lining. I definitely am overlining these a little bit, but it's just because I like the comfort and the softness of this lining. This lining is really, really high quality. I think StyleMaker is going to restock this fabric, so if you are looking for a high quality soft lining for swimsuits, definitely check this one out. And sorry for the chaos, I just wanted to get cutting over with because as you guys know, I hate it. But here I am just doing the final stitching to finish up the bottoms of the swimsuit I ran out of thread while doing. And here I am doing all of my darts. So I am doing all the darts in the lining in both the shorts and the top. This took what felt like forever. I don't super love doing darts on a good day, and on super stretchy swimsuit fabric, I extra don't love doing darts. I think there are many reasons why swimsuits don't have darts, but this is definitely one of them. However, I do think the end result turned out great, so I am perfectly okay with my swimsuits having darts. I am going to start by focusing on the shorts, and so what I am doing here is first I am sewing them up the middle, both the front and the back, and then I will sew them down the sides. I don't have to leave room for a zip because this is going to be stretchy. In my earlier swimsuits that I've made with fabric and vintage patterns, I have left that opening, but I realized I don't really need it. And then here I am pinning all of the lining together. Again, I am doing wrong side to wrong side because I'm basically assembling these the same way that I assembled my swimsuit bottoms, except for I will not have elastic down around the legs because I want them to be loose because they are a little bit longer. I don't need them to kind of be tight and not move. And then here I am basting the fabric down. And this one, I also made another mistake in that I cut the lining a little bit shorter because I didn't want the lining to bag out, and it resulted in like weird baggy short things. And then here I am using my newfound trick of zigzagging for the waistband. This is also what allows me to not need a zipper on the side because I'm not going to break these stitches when I put it on. I am zigzagging the top stitching down on the outside of the fabric here. So that's what you're seeing. I do like this view because it shows you my stitch settings. And then what you can't see here is I've put the elastic in. I did a really poor job on this swimsuit and I just need to redo the whole thing. I used too thick of an elastic and I should have used a thinner elastic piece. Good morning. I'm not gonna lie, I am dragging my feet on this project and I need to just get it done. Hence the sweats and the look today, is I'm just trying to get through this project. I took on too much. This was maybe too ambitious and I'm ready to be done. I do want to say, like, it's okay to like hit a point in a project that you're not excited and you're just completing it to be done with it. You don't have to love sewing 100% of the time. I know I don't, and like that's okay. And I know I'm gonna end up with a product I'm really excited about and proud of, but it's a journey to get there, and right now I just want to be done. Today all I'm doing is I just need to hem the shorts, put in the like little side ruching thing. Then I just need to make the top, which seems pretty straightforward and easy. So I should be able to wrap this up today. I really hope. If I'm working on this tomorrow, I might just give up. I don't know. So we'll take that enthusiasm and we will now go hop over to the sewing machine and I'm gonna wrap this up. Please, hopefully. So for hemming these shorts, I am just doing a typical double turn hem with a straight stitch. Again, these don't need to be stretchy, so I don't need to use the zigzag, and I much prefer the finish of a straight. I didn't do a great job making this look super neat. It did the trick, it worked, so that's at least nice. And then the other thing I'm working on here is I am working on sewing the tubes for the ties that are going to go down the side of the shorts to ruche them. These were pretty easy to make, and they were actually very easy to turn for how thin they are because, again, this material is stretchy. It also is kind of slick. In this one, I was using my usual where I put a big knot in the thread, I tied it in there, and I fed the needle through the tube and then pulled it out, which is what the instructions recommended, and it definitely is the best tube experience I've had. So the visual for the ruching here might be kind of hard to see, but basically what it is it's a rectangle inside the shorts where I am stitching down the stitch line in the middle, and then I chose to do about 3/8 to the side on each side, and that creates the channel, and then you thread the tie through that channel, and then you just stitch it up at the top, and then that gives you like a nice clean rectangle finish on the outside as well. This was much easier to do than I thought it was, and it will definitely be a trick I use in the future. And then to tie the bows for these, I am using a gauge to measure how long the shorts go down so they're even on each side and don't get wonky. And then here, I'm very much going to be cruising through this top. I am not going to lie, I am completely over this project and I just want to be done. So here I am just assembling all of the pieces of both the lining and the outside fabric together. And then I am sewing and sewing and sewing to hopefully finish this up quickly. The tubes that you see me sewing are the straps, which will then be anchored in between the lining and the top for when I sew those together. I've sewn those together, and then I have opted to top stitch this one, even though I could definitely understitch it and it would have looked a lot neater had I done that. And then here you can see I'm just pinning the waistband on, which is basically just a bias tape. So it folds on the inside up to the outside. And then this one I'm also straight stitching because I don't need this top to stretch. And then I am just top stitching this down. I also put in the buttonholes and sewed on the buttons off camera. I will say I think I prefer button closures for swimsuits to anything else because they feel a lot more secure than those weird plasticky little hooks. But that concludes the sewing part of this video, and we will now look at the reveal. Alrighty, you have seen the reveal. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a surprise that it ended up being sunny out, so I was pretty pumped about that. When I started driving over there, it was rainy. It was also warm enough that I wasn't freezing, which is the first time I could probably say that this year in Seattle. So summer is close. So let's go ahead and dive into how much this costs. I can tell you already this one was a really expensive project. All right, so for the cost breakdown of this one, first we will start with fabric. I didn't use that much fabric because these were swimsuits, so the fabric totaled at $80.44. For the quality of the fabric, I'm pretty happy with this because the linings were really soft and the swimsuit fabrics were really opaque, which is great because my beef with buying a lot of swimsuits has been that the fabric's kind of see-through. Patterns is where you see the biggest expense put into supplies. With that totaling at $103.67. The cost of these patterns will technically go down over time because I will use them again and again and again. These were definitely just mostly a trial run. Supplies, so this is the buttons, any bias tape, any notions, any was $18.92. Threads included in there. So usually this is a pretty cheap category. And then the labor, as always, is the big ticket item. This took me 12 hours to make all these pieces, and I paid myself, in theory, $25 an hour, which is the average pay of a seamstress in Seattle. So this brings the total without labor to $203.03. But once you add the labor in, you get to $503.03. So this was a really expensive project. Each swimsuit piece would be over $100, and I would encourage you just to question why you're able to buy swimsuits so cheap. While you can make this a more efficient process via factory, it's still kind of scary to know there are swimsuits being sold for $5 a piece out there. This is just a little part that I tell you for transparency and so you can think critically. And then I am also going to ask that if you feel inclined, you can buy me a coffee over on Ko-fi. The only reason I ask this is I make about $6 a video on YouTube, so I don't make much money from doing these projects. So I just always kind of want to put that plug in for myself to try to pay myself fairly for my labor. But with that breakdown, let's go ahead and jump back into the wrap up. So we're back. Between the labor and all of the materials I used for this was expensive. Eventually these swimsuits will get cheaper because I'll use these patterns over and over again. And I have a few different fabrics on reserve, but yeah, definitely a little bit spendy. But let's go ahead and discuss them. So I have a lot of pieces to discuss, I guess. First, I'll just discuss these bottoms. They're just kind of your basic swimsuit bottom. I really like them. I can also turn them inside out if I want them to have kind of like a fun trim detail. This one is fully, I guess, reversible in that sense. I think the elastic in the waistband on this one was far more successful than the shorts, and I appreciated their tutorial online, I believe it's Friday Patterns, that showed me how to do the elastic properly. I've never learned how to do elastic properly, so that was pretty neat. I love these bottoms, and I'm going to probably be making a whole bunch of them. I like the coverage of them, and they're comfy. This one was a big ol' win for me, and I will be making a lot more. However, the top that goes with it, which is also fully reversible, this was not a pattern that was designed with this material in mind, so I will forgive this pattern. However, I would say this is not my favorite. The knot in the front's like a little bit bulky and kind of weird, and same with the knot in the back. I will wear this because again, it's fuller coverage, so if I'm paddleboarding or like whitewater tubing or something, like I feel confident that this is going nowhere. However, it's just like a little bit bulky and like not as cute looking as I liked. However, like I said, I'll still wear it, and I still have a lot of this leaf fabric, and so I will make this fabric into another top as well. Next piece, the shorts were a big surprise. So I really fumbled the elastic in the waistband. The elastic in the waistband is not nice, and I probably need to redo it, which doesn't really sound very fun, but I probably have to at some point. But other than that, I absolutely love the cut of these shorts. I love the ruching in the size, and I like how it gives me more coverage, but is like kind of cute and fun. And these will be perfect for paddleboarding because of their length and kind of like their bagginess. I don't think I would love like swimming with these, but for paddleboarding they'll be perfect. So I'm really happy with these, and it was kind of a surprise because I kept trying them on as I was making them, and I was like, oh my god, these are looking horrible. And it wasn't kind of till I put the ruching in that it all came together and started looking okay. Sometimes you just have to write it out with these projects. This is not the first thing I've made that the whole time I'm making it I'm like, oh god, this is gonna be ugly. It probably won't be the last, but I turned out I really like it, and I'll probably make one more pair of these in another fabric. And then I think this swimsuit top is so stinking cute. I really like the shape of it. I again really like the coverage of it, and I don't think it'll like give me weird sunburn lines, which a lot of my vintage swimsuits are gonna give me really weird tan lines. I really like buttons in the back. Oh, I say as it unbuttons. I actually feel like these feel more sturdy to me than the modern day, like kind of like a bra clip thing that they put in these, and I just always feel like it's hard to get on and like easy for the plastic component to snap or something like that. This one I feel much more secure in. However, because I did choose like these kind of poofier buttons, they don't feel so good sitting in a seat with. I'm thinking I might make the rest of my leaf fabric that I have into this top because I like it so much. So this one was a big win. This was another one that I was unsure while making it, and honestly, since this was the last piece I made, I was so sick of working on this project and I just wanted to be done. So I'm pretty delighted with how this guy turned out. That wraps it up. Thank you for coming along with my swimsuit journey. Overall, I am much happier with all of these than I would be with something I bought at a store. And as you saw from the price breakdown, I actually find it very alarming how cheap swimsuits are. These take a lot of effort to make. Like, they might not be that much clothing, but they're not quick or easy to make. So I will probably be making my own swimsuits from here on out. I have about 4 more swimsuit patterns that I want to test, so I have plans for that. Thank you for coming along with this ride, even though it felt a little arduous at the end. I have lots of great sewing projects coming up. If you did enjoy this video and you haven't subscribed already, definitely do that. I would love to have you around. And you can always buy me a coffee over on my Ko-fi. I also did turn on the thanks thing from YouTube, but YouTube takes 30% of that, and if you give me something over on Ko-fi, they take 0%. And with that, thank you again, and I will see you next time. Bye!